Excuse me, young man, I am looking for room 110.
Well, this is Psychology 460. The students are taking a test on the history of experimental psychology.
I am looking for Dr. Michael's class, Psychology 260. I am to be the guest lecturer. Another student sent me here. Where is your professor?
Dr. Mountjoy is out today. He is looking for precious stones to polish. I am his graduate assistant. You look very familiar. I think we just read about you. Are you B.F. Skinner, the inventor of the Skinner box?
I am Dr. Skinner. If you studied me, you know that I'm the father of radical behaviorism, and not only did I invent the so-called Skinner box, also, I invented the cumulative recorder, the air crib, and of course, I invented the experimental analysis of behavior. But, right now, I am late, and I am looking for Dr. Michael's class.
Wait a minute, what about William James? I read that James invented American psychology. According to Cantor, William James was the father of experimental psychology? In fact, didn't you and J.R. Cantor teach in James Hall when you were both at Harvard? And, didn't you write verbal behavior while you were giving the William James lecture series at Harvard? Seems like you owe a lot to William James, not to mention Henry.
Let me start again. I am here to give a guest lecture. I am B.F. Skinner, and I am the father of operant psychology. I invented radical behaviorism. I wrote Science and Human Behavior in Walden too.
No offense, Dr. S., but Henry David Thoreau wrote Walden. And, I was taught that John Watson, Edward Thorndike, and Clark Hall each had a role in the history of experimental psychology and behaviorism. And, what about that Russian dude Pavlov? Where do those other guys fit into the old behavioral family tree? Sounds to me like you are more like one of several brothers. Perhaps I should call you Uncle Fred.
To begin with, the Russian scientist you are thinking of was Ivan Pavlov. He described classical conditioning. I invented operant conditioning. And Henry Thoreau wrote Walden. I wrote Walden too.
Well, all I can say is I hope your sequel has more action and sex than Walden 1, because, no offense again Dr. B, but that book Walden, I mean it was a real sleeper.
Please stop calling me Dr. B. My name is B.F. Skinner. Dr. Skinner to my students. Fred to my friends. No one has ever called me Dr. S. or Dr. B, and nobody is ever allowed to call me Burrass.
I bet you got a lot of kidding when you were in graduate school, calling yourself BF. You know what BF means.
Stop, I know all about students calling me butt frickin' Skinner. Let's move on. I am looking for Dr. Michael's classroom. I am here to give a lecture on verbal behavior. I am not here to teach you about the history of psychology, in which I played a major role. I just need directions to Dr. Michael's class.
Certainly. Dr. Michael's class is in room 311. And, if it helps, there is an elevator at the end of the hall. I mean if the stairs are too much for you.
Young man, I'm not that old.
Of course, I just thought, since you are the father of operant psychology, that would make you pretty old and you might need some help getting to the third floor. Unless you invented something to get you upstairs. How about that pigeon-guided missile?
Perhaps we should leave my inventions to another day. Just remember, someday people will say that I was the most important psychologist in the 20th century, and you got to shake my hand. But right now I just need to find my cane and make my way to Dr. Michael's class.
Gosh, it certainly was an honor to meet you, Dr. Skinner. This will be a day I never forget. However, before you go, I just have to ask, I am not saying you are old or anything, even if you and William James are like father and son, but is that a quill pen in your pocket?